and we're live. So thanks, Instagram, for meeting me this morning for a live stream. I kind of wanted to go over this system I have back here, the HYDRO-BLOK system, and I created a curbless shower, as you can see. And I wanted to go over the installation process of this and highlight a lot of the basically how this is being put together so that you can do it yourself, save yourself a ton of money, and get a really nice project. So as you can see, this is a 3x5 shower, and I have a highlight reel that I basically created that is going to go over the entire process of the install. So, if you have any questions, leave a comment, and I'll be happy to help you out. But for right now, we're going to try to get my comments back on here. There we go. And then, yeah, here we go. Should be live. Okay, there we go. All right, so I created this little video here. This is gonna basically highlight how do you open this up. You gonna allow me to open this up or what? Guess it's not. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's highlight on how this is all put together. So most of these curbless shower systems are all pretty much the same as far as the way they highlight and create a curbless shower. And that's essentially just recessing the plywood area of the shower floor area. So in this instance, I'm actually revamping and moving over new plumbing. So I'm converting a tub to a walk-in shower. So you really, if it's a great idea, if you have 2-inch piping, to run 2-inch piping all the way from your main waste stack to the shower drain to be able to do it, because everything's going to be connecting the 2-inch. But this is really the highlight of the curbless shower system, and that is essentially creating a curbless entrance into the shower by recessing the plywood even with the floor joists. So as you can see here, this is a kind of a common area where there's an issue with not having any support underneath a wall. A lot of times your back wall is just a partition wall, and so there isn't any framing in those corners, and you need to have support for that actual area of the shower. So that's how we were able to do that, using those flat lock screws and then nailing on and scabbing on 2x4s to your existing joists in order to get that plywood even with the floor joist. It's a very simple concept, but it's just something that can be somewhat troublesome to be able to do. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you open up your existing tub, remove the subflooring, and see what you have obstructions there. I've definitely had issues in the past where there was light, like basically recessed light fixtures and different things below that hindered me from being able to do a recessed floor. But a lot of times you can. So yeah, so we're basically just putting down the 3/4-inch plywood, even with the joist. And the one thing I would say that you really want to pay attention to at this level is making sure that subfloor is level for the shower pan, because all of these shower pans that are pre-sloped, they're all pre-sloped, basically 1/4-inch per foot. So it really relies on a level subfloor to be able to be set straight and make sure that everything drains properly. So in this particular situation, I actually did have to overcome about a 1/2 inch out of unlevelness, and I made sure that the framing did that. So making sure that these pieces of plywood were level so that my subfloor is level for the shower pan. And then on the outside floor, I did the same exact thing. I used 2x4s, scabbed onto my existing joists, and just created a level outside subfloor. This is going to be really imperative to make sure that is level so it meets up with the shower pan properly. There's a lot of different ways you can go about making sure that your outside floor is even with the shower pan. In this instance, we're just using a 3/4-inch plywood, and then we're going to be doing an uncoupling membrane that is a 1/4-inch. So really what you're looking at with these curbless systems is just getting an inch of outside floor covering to be able to meet up with that shower pan. That's usually pretty easily done with 3/4-inch plywood as your subfloor, and then using a 1/4-inch material on top to be able to meet up with that. But that's going to be really important that this subfloor is level on the outside, the last thing you want to do is have any type of membrane that is going to be or having the outside floor lower than the shower pan. That really creates a lot of problems with curbless showers. If it's a little bit lower, you can actually siphon water out of the shower through the thin set layer and cause pooling of water outside of the shower. So you always want to have your outside floor higher or just even with that shower pan to ensure that everything drains properly. And there's a couple of ways you can go about building that up. And number one would be the uncoupling membrane, like I'm going to be demonstrating here. Number two would be to use floor leveler. Some ways that's the most foolproof way to go about it, because you're able to just pour the floor leveler straight up to that shower pan and have a nice transition. And then the third way would be to use a 1/4 inch backer board of some sort. HYDRO-BLOK actually does make 1/4 inch backer board there as well. While mixing up some thin set, I do highly recommend that you cut the riser pipe with a chop saw. Make sure it's a nice flush, even cut, and it needs to be even with the subfloor. So that riser pipe coming up out of the floor needs to be level with the subfloor, and that will get you at the right position for when you connect that drain system. So really this just basically thin sets into place. As you can see there, I had a very wet thin set. I think it's important to make sure that this is well bonded. It's supposed to be used as support, but also bonding the pan to the actual subfloor. And as you can see here, this is really important to make sure that that pan is spaced properly so that your wall boards slide into that rabbet joint around that perimeter of the pan. Now, this is probably the easiest part of this system, and that is actually installing the shower drain. It really is one of the simplest ones I've ever used. I always call it like the shark bite drain assembly, because it literally just presses on over top of the 2-inch piping, and then you just obviously seal everything with the sealant. This sealant is a really high quality polyurethane sealant that always stays elastic. So it's something that should be able to put up with quite a bit of movement and really does secure everything really well. It really is one of the easiest parts of the system, and that's one of the main reasons I like using sealant application types of products like this, because it's pretty much foolproof. Anything that you mess up, you kind of basically fill in with the sealant and make sure that it's waterproof. Now, I am constructing this bench out of 1.5 inch foam board, and I really do think in a lot of ways it's a better way to go, primarily because it's not going to have any expansion and contraction. A lot of times if you frame the bench out of plywood, you can have issues with expansion and contraction. And then also when I'm putting my shower doors that are going to go over top of this bench, I'm going to be able to put plug anchors and screws right into that and not have to worry about any rotting of a bench. So I really think having a bench built out of the foam is a better way to go ultimately, and it's also going to be 100% waterproof, which makes a big difference. HYDRO-BLOK board is really, really simple to install. Once you start using a foam board like this, you'll never go back to cement board or hardy backer or any of that stuff. It's really easy to scribe cut in the field. Basically just you need a utility knife. And one of the best things about it is waterproof all the way through the board. So even if you nick the surface, you don't have to worry about the compromisation of the board. It's waterproof all the way through. And you can always use the sealant to, fill in any nicks or scratches. Now that shower bench, I created a rabbet joint so that the wall board slides into the bench. And the primary reason that the shower pan and why I did this on this bench with the rabbet joint is to ensure that you have a nice complete seal between the wall board and the shower pan or the bench. One of the big things about any type of new home construction, everything's made out of wood framing. So there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of expansion and contraction. So you want to make sure that that board is really well embedded into the sealant. And so that rabbet joint allows everything to lock into place. If you just sat the board right on top of the shower pan, there could be a potential problem where movement can allow a crack to happen in between. So that's why when you slide the board into the rabbet joint and into that sealant, you're ensuring that it's having a good seal all the way around. So you basically want about 1/4 inch of that board going into the actual shower pan area. And then really the rest of the board is really, really simple. I mean, you basically cut with a utility knife and use plenty of sealant in between the boards. So anywhere that HYDRO-BLOK meets HYDRO-BLOK, you want to add a bead of sealant. And that's one of the main reasons I like using a sausage tube gun. This not only is a little less wasteful because you get 20 ounces of the sealant versus 10 ounces that you get out of a regular tube, is that you're able to apply a better bead for everything. And that's really what's ensuring the watertight seal is the actual sealant. So here I'm just cutting out for the actual shower valve. And as you can see the oozing of that sealant coming out of the joint and the floor. That's what you want to see. And I do highly recommend that you kind of mark it before you set the board into the sealant and give a reference point to make sure that that board is going down in. But as you can see here, just making sure that you're building it up between each panel ensures a good seal to everything. Using the washers and screws every 12 inches is primarily secures everything. You do need, basically studs 16 inches on center for deflection rating of that. But, it really is, if it wasn't for me filming, most of the time I could pretty much get this type of shower done in about 3 to 4 hours complete. And then you can actually flood test it right afterwards. And then the next following day, get into the tiling. And if you were really motivated, you could start tiling the same day. So that was basically the initial, the initial setting of all the board and the pans. Now you want to go over and seal everything else, make it basically a 1-inch overlap on all of the seams and the corners and over all of the washers. And again, the sealant application is probably the simplest type of waterproofing system out there because it's literally just dotting all of your washers, going over all your seams, and using a trowel to make everything nice, flat, and smooth. If you ever used a membrane system, there's a lot of overlap. Thin set can be troublesome if you're not mixing it properly. So there's a lot of things about the sealant application that makes it much, much easier. Now, I did use about 10 20-ounce tubes. I use about 200 ounces of sealant for the shower. So make sure that you have plenty when you're actually doing it. Now, this is one different part from any other, sealant application system out there that HYDRO-BLOK has, and that's using this alkali-resistant tape mesh to secure the corners of the wall to the shower. Now, that's going to be the most important aspect of any shower is where the wall board meets the actual shower pan. So reinforcing it with an alkali-resistant mesh tape provides a lot of extra strength to the corner, and then you're additionally adding more sealant to make sure that everything is covered and well reinforced. So I really like that. It gives a lot of peace of mind on being able to do that. And then they also have other accessories that are helpful. Using a shower valve seal like this just provides extra insurance, especially for the shower head. Now, the shower head is a little overkill for sure. But if you had a handheld device of some sort, I think having a pipe seal is very, very important because a lot of times those handhelds don't have a lot of, any type of sealing around it. Now, we're going to be installing the uncoupling membrane. That's how we're going to make this floor even with the shower pan. This is a 1/4-inch mat. It's an uncoupling membrane that's completely waterproof. So that evens up very nicely with the shower pan if you have a level outside floor. If your outside floor is not level, and it's down a little bit more than 1/4 inch, then you're going to want to do floor leveler. Just pour floor leveler straight up to that shower pan and then use a liquid waterproofing that goes over top. So when you're doing an uncoupling membrane and you're doing this type of style job, you just want to make sure that everything is level and is going to line up properly. If you have everything level, you're not going to have a problem. The 1/4-inch material is going to line up right with that shower pan, and you'll be able to seal it in between the two with the sealant and additional mesh tape. The mesh tape, again, is reinforcing the joint. And then really what the rule of thumb on this is just to have one pillow. That's one square of that uncoupling membrane covered with the sealant. And that's what's going to create a nice watertight seal. Now, I did use 2 sheets of the membrane on the outside of the floor. So in order to make that completely waterproof, you're going to want to seal in between the 2 2 sheets. And then this is my way of basically water testing or basically flood testing it. And that's just using a temporary board in place right where the transition is, filling up that deal and letting it sit for 24 hours. Now, I did actually let this sit for 5 days, so it definitely gives you peace of mind, gives the client peace of mind, and I really do implore you to flood test things, just make sure that everything drains and is leak free. So there you go. That is the HYDRO-BLOK system. It's definitely a really great system. It's something I've always loved using, and just because the cement. So there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, it's really fast. So if you're a contractor, time is money. So being able to do something, in a half a day to waterproof everything and get everything ready for tile is really important. There's a lot of situations where if you're doing even a traditional mud bed system, you're talking in like 2 days before you can actually get the tiling. You could use a membrane over a mud bed and be able to even tile, the following day. But in most circumstances, most other systems, you're talking about 2 days worth of prep before you can actually start tiling. This I'm able to do in half a day. Like I would just schedule doing the waterproofing one day and then the following day starting into the tiling. So it's a really easy day putting this together. But there's a couple of reasons why I like it. Number one is that the foam board is rigid. It has a cementitious layer on it that allows thin set to grab into it very well. And then the fact that it's waterproof all the way through the board gives me peace of mind. Even if I wanted to scribe cut a piece of tile that was already set, I could use my grinder and I could cut that piece of tile to make it a little bit better and not worry about it. As long as I don't penetrate all the way through the board, I have nothing to worry about. If I have other people working on the job and they drop something on the shower pan, it's not compromised. As long as they don't go all the way through the shower pan, it's good. And then you can also just use that sealant the sealant to fill in anything that was messed up. So it's a very versatile, durable product. That's one of the reasons I really like it. Number two is that it's easily customizable. So if you're in the field and your shower pan's a little bit smaller or something's unsquare, you can just basically recreate that rabbet joint around the perimeter of the shower pan, cut it down. Say if your drain is a little bit off center, something like that, you can be able to modify this. Now you are going to want to pay attention to what size pan and what size shower. Again, this was basically just a 3x4 shower pan with the shower bench. And I didn't even cut the shower pan down at all. I basically kept it as it came, 3x4. And then I basically built the bench around it. That's usually really one of the easiest ways to go. And depending on your tile layer or setup, it really having something that's nominally the same size from the shower drain all the way around makes that really easy. So anyways, just pay attention to your own situation and, what things that, be able to make sure that your pan fits, because they do make different size pans. They have the 36 by 36, 36 by 48, 36 by 60, 36 by 72. So they have a lot of different sizes out there. They have the offset drains. They actually go all the way up to 72 by 72. But I would say one of the other key things about the system that makes it a bit superior than most others is just the fact that they have all the components together. They have a really awesome line drain. I'm hoping to demonstrate that in my next project. So they have some really different drain systems that make everything really easy. And then on top of it, they give you that lifetime warranty, which is pretty important to a lot of people as well. So, so that's the HYDRO-BLOK system. I wanted to share with you that. I'm going to probably continue to do some more lives to get people in here to view this stuff. But you can go to, where's my little ticker? You can go to my website, www.bathroomremodelingteacher.com. I have courses right now. This entire installation is available through my DIY Geek membership. So my DIY Geek membership is essentially a bundle of all of my courses. So this is my 15th course right now, and I have a whole bunch of different demonstrations of other types of curbless showers. I have the Schluter curbless shower. I have a basement bathroom where there was a concrete subfloor that I put a curbless shower in. I have the towel ready system. I have Go Board. I mean, I have a lot of different representations of different types of systems. I have the Weedy system in a couple of my tutorials. So if you buy the bundle, you get all of the courses, and you get this one available now I'm going to be tiling this next week, so you'll get them as I'm continuing sharing the content. And yeah, so I hope to see you in there. And I definitely give you some discounts if you ever wanted to do any type of a Zoom call and talk about your own particular bathroom, your own set of challenges. I'm always more than happy to help you out on that, because I do Zoom calls or FaceTime calls. So I'm in your space and I'm able to really help guide you through on how to do those things. So anyways, thanks for joining me this morning. And yeah, I'll see you a little bit later on another live stream. We're going to go over this. I'm going to hone this down until I get like the perfect 25-minute demonstration of this. So, but it's great to see so many people following here on this channel. It's really, it's tremendous to see all the engagement on here. All right. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next live stream.